Here we are, 10 days since Purim, and amazingly enough, just under 3 weeks until Passover. Maybe spring will actually come soon, and even better, maybe not just for 2 days. I'm finding myself waiting, not just for more buds or for warmer weather, though I want that, but for a week where Israelis don't have to go into shelters, for a week without an anti-Semitic incident that makes us hold our collective breath. I'll admit that I felt scared yesterday as I watched the images of smoke billowing out of Temple Israel in Dearborn Hills, Michigan. Maybe you were scared too, or angry or shocked, or maybe some other emotion that doesn't have a name quite yet, something that could come close to describing this. How do things like this keep happening, and does anyone care? And should we be doing more or less of this or that? And what would I do in that scenario? And should I be thankful that local elected leaders spoke out immediately? And how soon can I hug my Jewish children who only know Judaism as a source of joy? And. There's no word for that feeling yet. Maybe we'll come up with one. It felt a little too close for comfort, though. A large suburban Reform synagogue filled with children laughing and playing while in preschool. The pictures from above looked eerily like our TBJ. And so I assume that the hallways there sound pretty similar to the way ours do on a regular Thursday. Really, though, thank God, everything worked the way it was supposed to. Everyone was safe. Local law enforcement was quickly on the scene, and every planned security protocol went exactly as it should. As I was watching the events unfold, though, I couldn't help but think of one of the commandments that's associated with Purim. Remember Amalek. Remember the Amalekite people who attacked us unprovoked while we, the Israelites, were wandering the desert. Remember Haman, who is thought to be a descendant of this enemy. What does it mean to remember Amalek, though? Aren't we already a people that has learned to be mindful and maybe even a little guarded, to always be wary of others that might be enemies? The simple answer is yes. We are a people that has learned vigilance and self-protection, a hyper-awareness of any potential threat. And I'd say that feels justified given our history. Honestly, I'm glad we have incredibly amazing security in our building and good relationships with local law enforcement. Remember Amalek. But I don't want to always be scared. And so it's just as important to consider the other time we're commanded to remember. This one comes on Passover. Remember that you were strangers in the land of Egypt. This is the voice of liberation, of freedom, of empathy. Here is where we find our instruction to build bridges, to have empathy for others, to take care of the stranger in our midst. The message of this law, to remember, is to not be brutal, because we know all too well what it's like when we are treated with brutality. Remember you were a stranger in the land of Egypt. Yossi Klein Halevi, an Israeli-American writer and journalist, posits a theory based on these two commandments to remember. He believes that many American Jews can fall into one of two camps. The first category is Purim Jews, meaning they're focused only on the threats, and the second is Passover Jews, focused only on reaching out to others and concerned with working for liberation for all. Perhaps you might even be thinking right now, am I a Purim Jew or a Passover Jew? I'd love to hear your answers later if you want to tell me. But that's not where his theory ends. Passover Jews, he says, are motivated by empathy with the oppressed. Purim Jews are motivated by alertness to threat. Both are essential. One without the other creates an unbalanced Jewish personality, a distortion of Jewish history and values. Or to put it another way, both commandments to remember are necessary and sacred. Compassion without caution is reckless naivete, and vigilance without empathy is paranoia and despair. I think over the last few years, even those who maybe would have identified themselves as more of a Passover Jew have found themselves pulled in other directions. And those who have identified as Purim Jews perhaps have felt justified in that perspective. But the truth is this: we are one community, and we must partner with each other. We have moved past Purim, but we're not quite at Passover yet. We're still in the wilderness and not quite free. Yesterday was another example of that. We might be scared or anxious. Horrible things are happening after all, but we're still here. The clergy was outside during pickup yesterday and drop-off this morning. The kids were smiling. The adults appreciated a warm greeting. What else could have possibly been more important at that exact moment? We have each other, and the only way to navigate troubled waters is through. Our tradition teaches that when we do arrive at the exact moment of liberation, the moment when the Israelites are about to reach the Red Sea, the water is towering and rough, razor sharp. It does not seem like a miraculous moment. It was a scary one. Only when Nachshon walked into the sea and water was about to fill his nostrils, only then did the waters split. In a terrifying moment, the Israelites had to rely on each other, on God, and so must we. In the Torah portion this week, we're told all about the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Actually, we're told about it again for those of you keeping track. The measurements are exact, the artisans are talented, and the people are generous. Each item in the Mishkan is designed to be moved. The number of pegs and their materials and how many poles each item has are noted quite extensively. After all, they'll have to pack it up and move as they travel through the desert, so figuring out how everything would be carried is pretty important. So every single item has poles to help carry it: the table, the menorah, the altar, the ark, and more. At the bottom of the ark that holds the 10 Commandments, unlike all the other vessels with removable poles, where the poles are put in when in motion and taken out when settled, the ark poles must never be removed. Even when the Israelites stay in one place for a long time, the poles cannot be taken out because they're an essential part of the ark. They're so important, in fact, that the medieval philosopher Maimonides includes this rule as one of the 613 mitzvahs listed in the Torah. Why are these poles so important? Maimonides answers like this: when carrying the ark on their shoulders, the Levites should carry it face to face, with their backs pointed outward and their faces inward. As they carried the ark, the holiest of items, 4 people, 2 on each side, they had to look at each other, to be in relationship, to connect with each other even in moments that were hard. I can almost imagine it, seeing the sweat drop down their fellow carriers' faces and lovingly saying through their own exhaustion, "Look at me, just one more step, you got this, we've got this." Through each and every moment of uncertainty in the desert, through wars and fighting, through 40 years in the wilderness, we are in this together. Let us follow their example. No matter how you identify, if you're a Purim Jew or a Passover Jew or somewhere in the middle, may we be able to find the space to look at each other, really look at each other, and say this: it feels a little like we're in the wilderness right now, but don't worry, we're here. One more step. This week, we finished the book of Exodus. And as we do when we finish every book of Torah, we say these words, Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and together we will be strengthened. But why is the word chazak repeated? The first time it's said, it's to the individual. The second time, it's to the whole community. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, each of you. Be strong, all of us. Only together will we prevail. Shabbat shalom. We will continue with the Aleinu on page 282, and I invite